You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the floor, there they are. Eyes locked on you, tail already in motion, body wiggling with an excitement that seems almost too intense for someone who just saw you 8 hours ago. Your dog greets you like you've returned from war, not from sleep. And what most people don't realize is that this isn't just excitement. This is proof. Proof that in your dog's world, you are everything. Scientists have spent decades studying the bond between humans and dogs, and what they've discovered is that your dog does specific things every single day. Small gestures you might not even notice, that reveal just how deeply they've chosen you as their person. These aren't random behaviors, but deliberate acts of trust, love, and loyalty that have been hardwired into the canine brain through thousands of years of evolution. Today, we're decoding 7 of these daily behaviors, and by the end, you'll never look at your dog the same way again, because once you understand what they're really telling you, you'll realize you're not just a dog owner, you're someone's entire world. Let's start with that morning greeting because it's more telling than you think. When your dog greets you in the morning, pay attention to the intensity, because a dog who sees you as their favorite person doesn't just acknowledge you, they celebrate you. Their whole body gets involved, the tail wagging so hard it moves their entire back end. Sometimes they'll grab a toy or do that little play bow, or they'll press their body against your legs like they're trying to fuse with you. This behavior taps into something primal in the dog's brain, since in wolf packs, the most subordinate members greet the pack leaders with enthusiastic displays of affection and submission. But here's where dogs have evolved beyond their wolf ancestors. Research from Japan's Azabu University found that when dogs and their owners make eye contact, they both experience a spike in oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that floods a mother's brain when she looks at her baby. Which means your dog isn't just greeting a pack leader, but reconnecting with their emotional anchor. And that intensity you see is proportional to how much they missed you, even if you were only gone for 8 hours, even if you just went to the bathroom, because to them, any separation from their favorite person feels significant. Psychologist Gregory Burns, who pioneered MRI studies on conscious dogs, discovered that the caudate region of a dog's brain, the area associated with positive expectations and rewards, lights up most intensely when they anticipate their owner's return. Not food, not toys, but you. So, when your dog greets you like you're the best thing that's ever happened to them, they mean it because in their brain, you literally are. Now let's talk about something you've probably noticed but maybe found slightly annoying. You get up to get a glass of water and your dog follows. You move to another room and they follow. You go to the bathroom and they're waiting outside the door, or worse, they've invited themselves in. This behavior, often called Velcro dog syndrome, is actually one of the clearest indicators that you're their chosen person, since dogs are pack animals. And in a pack, members stay close to each other for safety and social bonding. But your dog doesn't follow everyone in the household with the same dedication, do they? Because they follow you. Animal behaviorist Dr. Rachel Barrick explains that dogs follow their favorite person because they view them as the source of all good things like food, play, affection, and most importantly, security. Which means when a dog chooses to remain in your presence, even when there's no obvious reward, that's pure attachment. The difference between healthy following and separation anxiety matters here, since a dog with separation anxiety becomes distressed when you're out of sight, while a dog who simply prefers your company will follow you but remains calm and confident. The shadow effect is your dog's way of saying, wherever you are is where I want to be. And they're not being needy, they're being loyal. And in the canine world, choosing to stay close to someone, even when they could be napping somewhere comfortable or investigating interesting smells, is the ultimate compliment, because you are more interesting, more comforting, and more valuable to them than anything else in their environment. Here's a subtle one that many dog owners don't recognize as the profound gesture it actually is, and that's the lean. You're standing in the kitchen cooking dinner or washing dishes, and suddenly you feel it. Your dog walking up beside you and pressing their weight against your leg. They're not asking for anything or trying to get your attention for food or play, they're just leaning. This physical behavior is rooted in trust and affection, since Dr. Karen Sweda, a veterinary behaviorist, notes that leaning is a dog's way of seeking closeness and comfort. Unlike cats, who are more independent and selective with physical contact, dogs are tactile creatures who use body pressure to communicate. And when a dog leans on you, they're essentially hugging you in the only way they know how. But here's the deeper meaning, since dogs only lean on people they trust completely because it's a vulnerable position. They're putting their balance, quite literally, in your hands. And if you moved suddenly, they'd stumble, but they trust you not to. This behavior often appears when dogs are feeling slightly anxious or uncertain, maybe during a thunderstorm or when there are strangers in the house. And who do they lean on? Their safe person, which is you. The lean also shows up during quiet moments when they're simply content, saying, "I'm happy here next to you, and your presence makes me feel secure." Next time your dog leans against you, try this and lean back gently, because that small reciprocation of pressure tells them in their language that you're there for them too. Let's move to something that might seem playful but carries deep significance, and that's when your dog brings you their toys. Not to play necessarily, but just to show you. Walking up with their favorite squeaky toy, dropping it at your feet or in your lap, and just looking at you, maybe picking it up again and bringing it even closer. This behavior is rooted in a fascinating blend of instinct and affection. Since in wild canine behavior, pack members share resources with those they care about most, mother dogs bring food to their puppies, and wolves in a pack share successful kills with other members, while your domesticated dog doesn't need to hunt for survival, but that instinct to share valuable resources remains. And to your dog, their toys are valuable, since that ratty tennis ball or that stuffed animal with half its stuffing missing. Those are treasures. When they bring these treasures to you, they're including you in their wealth, saying, "Look at this important thing I have, and I want you to have access to it too." Research by Dr. Brian Hare at Duke University's Canine Cognition Center found that dogs demonstrate gift-giving behavior most frequently with family members they're most bonded to, which means they don't bring their toys to everyone. They bring them to their favorite person. Sometimes this behavior is an invitation to play, which is equally significant since play is how dogs build and maintain social bonds. And when they invite you to play, they're choosing you as their preferred playmate. But even when they're not asking you to throw the ball, even when they just present it and walk away, they're making a statement because you are the person they want to share their joy with. Now we come to one of the most telling behaviors of all, and that's where and how your dog chooses to sleep. Dogs spend a significant portion of their day sleeping, between 12 to 14 hours for most adult dogs, and where they choose to do this reveals everything about who they trust most. If your dog consistently chooses to sleep in the same room as you, or better yet on your bed or right beside it, you are unquestionably their favorite person, since sleep is when animals are at their most vulnerable. In the wild, canines sleep in protected areas surrounded by pack members they trust, which means a dog who sleeps with you is placing their safety entirely in your hands, saying, "I trust you to protect me while I'm unconscious." But let's go deeper into sleep positions, because these matter too. And dogs who sleep with their back pressed against you or curled up touching some part of your body are demonstrating what animal behaviorists call contact comfort. This term, first coined by psychologist Harry Harlow, refers to the physical and emotional comfort derived from touch, which means your dog finds your physical presence so comforting that they want to maintain contact even while sleeping. Then there's the ultimate sign, and that's the belly-up sleeper, since a dog who sleeps on their back with belly exposed is displaying complete and total trust. The belly is a dog's most vulnerable area, and in any conflict, protecting the belly is priority one. So a dog who exposes it while sleeping is telling you they feel absolutely safe. And if they're doing this in your bed right next to you, you've achieved the highest level of canine trust possible. Even the direction they face matters, since studies on canine behavior have shown that dogs tend to position themselves facing the direction they perceive as needing protection. Or they face away from their most trusted person because they know that person will watch their back, and either way, you're part of their security calculation. Let's talk about walks, because this is where you can see your dog's attachment in real time. You're walking your dog and they're on leash or maybe off leash in a safe area, exploring and sniffing trees, investigating bushes, watching squirrels. But every so often they stop what they're doing and look back at you. Maybe they walk back a few steps to check in and then resume exploring. And this check-in behavior is profound. Developmental psychologists describe something called secure base behavior in children, where a child with a secure attachment to their caregiver will explore their environment confidently, but they regularly check back to make sure their caregiver is still there. And that visual confirmation allows them to continue exploring with confidence. Dogs do exactly the same thing. And when your dog checks in with you during a walk, they're using you as their secure base. You are their anchor point in an environment full of interesting distractions. And here's what's remarkable, since dogs don't check in equally with everyone. Research conducted by veterinary behaviorist Dr. Monique Udell found that dogs check in most frequently with the person they've bonded with most strongly, which means you'll notice that if someone else is walking your dog, the check-ins might be less frequent, or the dog might seem less confident exploring. But with you, they venture further because they trust you're there, and explore more boldly because you represent safety. Every glance back is your dog asking, "Are you still there?" And when they see you are, their confidence is restored. This behavior also appears in potentially scary situations, since if your dog encounters something unfamiliar or frightening, during a walk like a strange dog, a loud noise, or an unusual object, watch what they do because they'll look to you for cues on how to react. This is called social referencing, and it's a behavior seen in species with complex social structures, which means your dog is literally asking, "Is this dangerous, and should I be worried?" And they're asking you because you're the one they trust to keep them safe. Finally, let's examine what happens when you leave, because this one requires a bit more observation since you're not there to see all of it. But the parts you can see are significant. When you're preparing to leave the house, your dog knows since they've learned your routine, like shoes going on, keys grabbing, certain jacket wearing, and they react. How they react tells you everything, since some dogs become anxious, which might seem like a sign of deep attachment. And it is, but true separation anxiety is actually a distress disorder that needs addressing. What we're looking for is something different, and that's the dog who acknowledges your departure with what researchers call secure attachment behavior. They might follow you to the door, watch you prepare to leave, maybe even look a bit sad, but they're not panicking. They're just aware. Here's what scientists have discovered: since dogs with secure attachments to their owners show mild stress when their owner leaves, but they settle relatively quickly and can engage with their environment. And when the owner returns, they show enthusiastic greeting behavior. This pattern, studied extensively by researcher Marta Gacci at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, mirrors the secure attachment pattern seen in human children. But here's the beautiful part: since your dog's behavior when you leave is based on a fundamental trust, because they trust you're coming back. Think about that. Since every single time you leave, your dog has no concept of time the way we do. And they don't know if you're gone for 10 minutes or 10 hours, but they wait. They trust. And when you return, no matter how long you've been gone, they greet you with joy because their faith in you was rewarded once again. Dogs who've bonded deeply with their person also show interesting behavior immediately after the owner leaves, since studies using cameras to monitor dogs alone have found that dogs often go to a spot where they can see out a window or door, and they wait there, at least for a while. They're not just passing time, but hoping to catch the first glimpse of your return. And that's not anxiety, that's devotion. So there you have it. 7 behaviors your dog does daily, maybe hourly, that prove you're not just a person in their life, but the person. The one they've chosen above all others, the one they trust, the one they want to share their joy with, the one they feel safest beside. What's remarkable about the human-dog bond is that it's one of the few interspecies relationships where genuine love exists, since your dog didn't have to evolve to love you. They could have remained purely transactional, sticking around for food and shelter, but somewhere in the thousands of years we've lived alongside each other, dogs develop the capacity to form emotional bonds that rival any connection in the animal kingdom. Every tail wag, every lean, every toy offering, every check-in during a walk. These aren't just behaviors, but a language. And now you can understand what your dog has been telling you all along. You are their whole world, and honestly, that's pretty positive.